Okay, so the NFL honors just happened, and we finally got to see who won the 2024 NFL MVP. And this year, it was Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen. And I feel like everybody kind of has a problem with him winning MVP. And I'm going to sit here and tell you guys why there's no problem with him winning MVP. And so a lot of people have an issue with Josh Allen winning because if you just look at it from a numbers perspective, yeah, Josh Allen didn't outplay the likes of Lamar Jackson. But the thing with the NFL MVP, it's not about who's the best quarterback. It's about who's the most valuable to their team. And Lamar Jackson is not more valuable than Josh Allen is to his team. So let's look at the basic numbers then, right? So touchdowns, Josh Allen only had 28. Lamar Jackson had 41. Josh Allen, 3 more interceptions. Their passer ratings, Lamar Jackson was better, and their QBR was virtually the same. Lamar Jackson also completed a higher percentage of his passes than Josh Allen did. So going by that, you can wonder, okay, so then how the heck did Josh Allen win the NFL MVP? Look, his stats don't tell the whole story. I mean, yeah, his stats were not anything out of the world. He finished 8th in passer rating, 14th in yards, and was tied for 7th in passing touchdowns. I mean, Joe Burrow had more. Saquon had a better offensive year. Lamar Jackson, 3 more touchdowns. But the thing with Josh Allen is he is surrounded by significantly less stars than Baltimore is, with a significantly less good coach, right? So let's look at the first team All-Pros. Baltimore had their fullback go in. They had Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey, and Kyle Hamilton go in. And on the second team, they had Ronnie Stanley, while the Buffalo Bills had Josh Allen, and Deion Dawkins was supposed to get in, but he got booted out for another player. Let's look at the Pro Bowls now, right? The Pro Bowls, Baltimore had 9 players go to the Pro Bowl, making it the most since 2019. That was Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Patrick Richard, Zay Flowers, Marlon Humphrey. Their center went in, their defensive tackle went in, their safeties went in, and their inside linebacker went in. Buffalo Bills only had 2 players go in. One of them was James Cook, who, by the way, replaced Derrick Henry, and the second one was their center, Connor McGovern, who replaced the Kansas City's player because they were competing in the Super Bowl. So going by that, you can see that Baltimore had much more Pro Bowlers, and if you don't want to look at Pro Bowlers, they had a lot more All-Pros. So just looking at that, right, like roster-wise, I don't think anybody, even in Baltimore, is going to say that Buffalo has a better roster than the Ravens do, because they simply don't. Baltimore is really talented on both ends. They have the way better receiving core than Buffalo does. On top of that, they have a better defense than Buffalo does, and their coach is way better than Buffalo's coach is. Nobody's going to tell you that Buffalo has a more talented roster than Baltimore does. Another big player that was in contention for the MVP was Saquon Barkley from the Eagles. Now, listen, I totally understand why people would say Saquon deserved to be MVP. What he did this season was unbelievable. And even behind a good offensive line, to put up those numbers requires a different level of talent from the running back position. But quarterback has always been the consensus favorite to win NFL MVP just because of the impact that QB has on the game. And so while we can go in and discuss the numbers about why Saquon should have deserved it or not, it would have never happened. I mean, the last non-quarterback to win MVP was Adrian Peterson in 2012, and even that was an anomaly year, and that had some backlash about it because they thought another quarterback should have won it. So we're not going to really dive into Saquon as much just because it doesn't make sense to give a running back a quarterback's award, whether we like it or not. NFL MVP is a quarterback's award. Another big thing that a lot of people have noticed that goes into MVP is narratives, right? So like, for instance, a big narrative into coming this season about Buffalo Bills was, oh, they lost Stephon Diggs, which was, you know, he's a top 6-7 receiver. But he's also was the best receiver on the Buffalo Bills, and they lost him in the offseason to the Houston Texans, right? So that's a big thing. To lose your number one guy and then to still go in and win the division, and the division was weak. Yes, we understand that. But to go in and win the division and put up the numbers that Josh Allen did, another big thing that happened this year was that Kansas City's only loss was against Buffalo. I mean, they completely outplayed them. And a lot of people will then talk about, oh, but in the playoffs, you know, blah, blah, blah. Guys, NFL MVP voting happens before the playoffs are happening. So the voting is done in the regular season. And by the time the playoffs are happening, majority of the voting casting is already done. Another thing was against Week 15, Buffalo Bills played Detroit Lions. And Detroit Lions were, you know, they were competing for the top NFC spot. They were arguably the best team in the NFC. Them, the Eagles, and the Vikings had the best records, right? And Buffalo went in and they went in and they won, and that was a crucial game, and Josh Allen had a clutch performance against them. So these are two really big storytime games that help the narrative that Josh Allen was the MVP. He had no business. His team was not as good as the Baltimore Ravens, and they still went in and they got a better record. They were higher in the seedings, and it just narratively it made more sense for Josh Allen to win the NFL MVP. So as we recapped, right, Josh Allen had worse stats than the likes of Lamar Jackson. However, we look at the whole picture, we look at the teams, we look at the coaching, we look at the stories, we look at the clutch time performances, and we can see that all of those things factor in, and those things factor in, we can see why Josh Allen won. If you still think Lamar Jackson should have won the MVP, I get it, right? Like, I understand that, and from a numbers perspective, absolutely, he should have won. Another thing that we noticed was this thing called voter fatigue, and I truly do think voter fatigue is a real concept in the leagues, not just in NFL, but in NBA especially. I don't think voter fatigue played a part in this, just because Lamar Jackson has not won enough to the point where you feel like, okay, voter fatigue's coming into play. I just think if you look at it from a bigger picture and you just throw stats away for a little bit, Josh Allen really did deserve the NFL MVP. I mean, he carried a below average team way farther than they should have gone. So those are my points on why I believe Josh Allen should have won the MVP. I think, all pros wise, like all pro usually goes to the best player at the position. I mean, for God's sakes, Joe Burrow got votes in for the All-Pro and none for the MVP. Just it shows the disparity that the votings have between MVP and All-Pros. And Lamar Jackson was the better quarterback in the season, and Joe Burrow was a better quarterback in the season, but they weren't more valuable to their teams. I mean, the Bengals have Jamar Chase, who's like a top 3 receiver. Like I said, Baltimore has, behind Philly, probably the best roster in football on the both offensive side and defensive side. Buffalo really just has a above average running back and Josh Allen. That's really all they got. But hey, that's just what I think. Let me know what you guys think, right? Aside from just numbers, why do you think Lamar Jackson deserved the most valuable player over Josh Allen? Because like I said, it doesn't go to the best quarterback. It goes to the most valuable quarterback. And if you want more proof of that, I mean, just look at last year. Josh Allen had way better numbers than Lamar Jackson did, but from a narrative perspective, it was a little bit different. Allen had the better receiving core. His defense was also, I think they were ranked just as good as the Ravens were, and the Ravens had a lot of rookies that they were playing. A lot of people that were brand new. They didn't have Derrick Henry, and all these different pieces weren't there. So that's why Lamar Jackson carried a worse roster to the playoffs. And whatever happens in the playoffs, it does not matter when it comes to NFL MVP voting. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, right? Let me know what you think. Do you think Josh Allen deserved it? Do you think Lamar Jackson deserved it? Do you think Saquon deserved it? Let me know what you guys think. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you guys did, leave a like. Let me know what kind of videos you guys want to see next. I have one banger coming up about the New York Jets, and anything relating to the New York Jets is just straight jokes. But yeah, other than that, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.